Welcome to the Earthworkers Sustainable Infrastructure Collective podcast. I'm George Kiefer. I started this company because I've been depressed about the future for a long time, and I want to do more to bring about what is hopefully positive change for our relationship with the environment and natural world. Within that context, I will talk about a lot of social and cultural and political matters because they're all linked to climate change. Make no mistake about it, I have progressive ideas, but I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I, like many other Americans, am an independent and hold my views that are all over the spectrum, but I want what's best for the country and our people. I want to better engage with the public and find ways to make our community stronger and thriving by building new sustainable infrastructure any and everywhere. To do that, though, we have to talk about corruption at many different levels and the importance of real regulation on bigger businesses to ensure they actually adhere to the laws and rules that govern them. We have to find common sense people who want to regulate corporations, Wall Street, and the big banks. We need leaders who want to actually sign legislation to ban Congress from buying and selling individual stocks. I think so many people feel we aren't being properly represented. I think one of the best ways we can demand the change we want to see is to use the internet to find independent candidates for all sorts of offices. Yes, I realize that's a probable Pandora's box, but is the current state of everything all that great and worth the nonstop bullshit we deal with now? I say this because I can't believe the only two people qualified to preside over our country are two declining senior citizens. I think the public wants a true independent voice, and I think internet virality can cross over into the mainstream very quickly. We don't have to accept that these are the only feasible options we have to lead us. The mainstream media wants Biden and Trump to be the election story so they can continue to push divisive narratives and drive their own ratings and profits. The public wants rational adults who will keep us out of global conflicts and focus on strengthening the economy for all Americans, not just corporate interests. I have no idea if this will work, but it could be a nice fuck you to the people who haven't done anything to help the American people in any real way. They don't know how to talk about or even come close to regulating AI in any meaningful way, called every single senior Boeing executive into Congress to ask them about the whistleblower that a large portion of the public believes was murdered to prevent more of his testimony about their planes that keep having major mechanical and structural problems and incidents. The majority of the current crop of elected leaders aren't capable of governing in this modern technological age. We do not need political parties controlling who we elect. They don't even give us the illusion of choice anymore. What we need, and we should embrace doing, is finding serious people who want to step up and share how they plan to run and what their policy positions are for the future. Maybe it's time we embrace the younger generation and find people who understand how to live on a budget and focus on an overwhelming amount of work and just try to get real shit done that helps make life better instead of fighting over the dumbest shit and continuing absurd investigation like Homer's pathetic impeachment inquiry. The dude is a fucking loser and a clown who's not helping his constituents at all with real problems they're facing in Kentucky. It's so dumb. We're so dumb. I realize that it's crazy and absurd and not really about climate stuff, but also it is because it's a very real issue we need to contend with and take a more serious approach to prepare for, and our leadership is not taking it seriously at all. They have no real vested interest in our future. I think that if we have more people talking about what policies we actually want to hear from a presidential candidate and other elected leader roles, then we can find people who want to uphold and run on those policy positions. Individuals across the country can upload announcement videos of sorts, and then the public can start to take an interest in who they are and listen further to what they have to say and what they stand for. We can vet these people ourselves and force them into the conversation with the legacy media and political establishment. We can force these two senile older men to discuss at length how they want to substantively make our lives better and policies they will enact to get us there. Policies that are in the public's best interest, not the donor class. We can push the conversation more radically if we find someone seemingly sensible and kind of boring, but willing to take on the corruption and build coalitions of like-minded individuals from all across the country. A lot of primaries are over, but we still have the option to write someone in. Again, I know this isn't plausible, but there's a small possibility we could find someone who isn't a declining senior citizen to lead our country through all these significant technological changes and transform our society for the best. I said I started a company, and I haven't talked about it yet, but this is something that's been gnawing at me for a while, feeling the sense of dread and lack of control over the future. which is one of the main reasons I started the company. I don't want to feel like we have no say in the direction we're heading, and I think most other people feel the same way. I stupidly, naively, delusionally think this could actually work. We don't need their political systems to find a person to lead us. We can find an independent. Don't get me wrong, this is a long fucking shot, but it's not impossible. This is America, after all. We're capable of long fucking shots. We're capable of making radical change if we want to, and I think we're desperate for it. Within that desperation, we need to be careful about how people are chosen and make sure they're open to having more of an interrogation on their life, as all politicians should be more aggressively questioned. Our current politicians are too soft and too removed from their constituents and accountability on a consistent basis. They love the swamp. It's gotten to their heads. The internet can be a great thing because we can have a serious contender within a month, maybe faster. We need someone who will call out all the dumb political bullshit and speak more plainly about issues and not be beholden to a particular political party and instead be able to run on their own agenda that hopefully resonates with the majority of Americans and focuses on strengthening our economy and solving some of these larger issues we have to contend with and not get us into another global conflict in the process. It's also dumb and depressing, but it doesn't have to be. It can instead be absurd and chaotic with real challengers to the current political establishment, which would also be, I think, very funny. Also, imagine some of the memes that could come from this and possibility of seeing people filming various announcement videos in public like they do with their dumb TikTok dances. We can have a write-in revolution of sorts. We can choose the direction of our future, not have it thrust upon us by corrupt, decrepit, and senile politicians. We can choose common sense and someone who wants to focus on the issues and also speak directly with the American people by understanding technology and embracing it as a more effective communications tool. This is plausible, this is possible, and it could be very, very funny. I created the Earthworkers Sustainable Infrastructure Collective for a multitude of reasons. The big one, or main one, is I've been depressed about the future and our beautiful planet being destroyed to appease the extravagant lifestyles of a very small group of humans and wanting to challenge the future they're trying to thrust upon us. Another reason I started the company is I'm trying to find hope for the future. I don't have a lot of that right now. I can't not pay attention to what's going on around us and the various policy choices our government continues to make and that benefit major corporations and the ultra-wealthy in our country and across the world. All of the major issues we're dealing with are strongly intertwined: housing, climate, energy, and the overall cost of living. I look at what we're doing to solve the climate crisis and make life better here in America and on Earth, and I don't see us doing nearly enough and moving with any real sense of urgency. Like so many others, I'm frustrated by it and often feel powerless, but I know I'm not. I do believe that I have the capacity to help affect change, my circumstances, and our collective circumstances too. Will it be easy to affect change? No. Is it possible? Yeah. In search of hope, in search of a better future, the Earthworkers Sustainable Infrastructure Collective is announcing Project 2030. Project 2030 is about getting the United States to a fully renewable energy grid by 2030 and on a path to a fully sustainable future. I'm talking about building renewable energy infrastructure in every community across the country. Project 2030 is about an economic revolution and revitalization of every main street across America. I'm talking about decentralizing our power grids. I'm talking about energy manufacturing and deployment jobs. I'm talking about making every community across the country more economically sustainable by building the renewable energy infrastructure right in their community, with the people who live there being the ones to build and maintain it, and thus more of the money stays within that community. Project 2030 is about economic and energy security. Goals for this project: conduct a study to see what the renewable energy transition would look like if we were to move at an accelerated or war footing pace in development and deployment of renewable energy infrastructure in every community, even communities of 100 people or less. Looking at the cost to bring back renewable energy infrastructure manufacturing to the US, like building wind turbines, solar panels, different types of batteries, e-bikes, etc. Build out of an interconnected rail system to reduce the number of cars on roads and make our communities more people-centric, lessen the number of cars on roads, and lessen the amount of tire pollution, amongst other negative attributes of cars, and also make driving more enjoyable for people who still own cars because of the decreased volume of cars on our roads. I'm not trying to get rid of cars outright. I just want to reduce the number of cars that are on the roads. This is not about the highest cost efficiency either, but building this infrastructure the right way that is designed for true long-term success and paying for itself over a multi-year period, if not potentially a little bit shorter. This is also not about quarterly reports and continuing to improve shareholder value. This is about sustainable growth. This is about job opportunities and training for a more sustainable future. I'd like to explore how we can build a higher number of greenhouses and vertical gardens and make it a lot easier for family farms to exist and reduce the number of big agriculture farms that are doing so much destruction to our land and food and water sources through all the different chemicals that they use. This is about how living more sustainably can improve our health in a myriad of ways. Walking, cycling, better air quality, less unnecessary consumption. In addition to sustainability, look at an economy centered around care in multiple levels. Childcare, elder care, and healthcare, to name some major sectors. Show that we can have a thriving economy with many different tiers of wealth, but provide everyone with at least a modest yet dignified living. I want to explore how UBI can be a contributing factor to a better future. Scott Santens is a great follow on Twitter about UBI and is someone who shares a lot of great resources about the benefits of UBI that, from what I've read, seem very sensible and economically viable short and long term. I want this project to be a catalyst for an economic revival of every community across the country, in addition to my desire to build more sustainable housing. I want to conduct this study so people can see how a renewable energy transition will actually benefit them. Create a real plan that includes everyone who wants to be included in this new direction. I think one of the challenges when people talk about the renewable or sustainable energy transition is they feel it's something that's happening to them that they have no say over and see no benefit. I want to create a way for everyone to benefit, regardless of how you may personally feel about climate change. I want this to be about an economic transformation and renewed investment in all of America. I want this project to show that material value is created in preserving as much of our land, lakes, rivers, oceans, mountains, forests, deserts, and this part will be a little cheesy, people and all animal life on our planet. I want people to be excited about preserving life on Earth and being more conscious about how we interact with the natural world. I'm talking about good jobs close to home so people don't always feel compelled to move away to larger metropolitan areas for opportunities if they don't want to. I don't want this to be political either. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or whatever term you do or don't want to use to describe your politics. I just want to build a bunch of homes, wind turbines, solar arrays, geothermal facilities, and hydroelectric where it makes sense and won't screw up our environment further. I want to make our country the blueprint for what sustainability can look like in every other country across the world. Project 2030 is my absurdly naive and idealistic moonshot to make America the leader in the global effort to secure a more sustainable future for the whole world. In spite of all my skepticism and cynicism, I still naively, foolishly, optimistically believe that America can be the leader in our sustainable energy transition. My naivete and belief in America are probably some of my most toxic traits. I fucking love this insane, maddening, eclectic, diverse country and firmly believe it is actually capable of figuring this out. But to do that, we have to stop being assholes to each other. We have to stop falling into the culture war traps. We have to stop letting corporate interests buy the influence of our elected leaders. The reason the climate crisis has gotten as bad as it has is because of corruption and greed. The busier we are arguing about issues like gay and trans rights, which these human beings absolutely should have, allows the current power centers to keep the American people divided and extracting our labor and money. It allows the people who are in power to stay in power. Project 2030 is about a new path, a new future for us where more Americans have ownership over our energy infrastructure. One of the big purposes of this project is to show how it's possible to improve our lives if the current billionaire and corporate class would stop being a bunch of selfish assholes. They've been ruining the environment and climate for many, many decades, and it's time for them to invest back into this country that has personally and professionally given them so much. This is a pathway forward for companies like Shell, Exxon, Chevron, Mobil, and any other fossil fuel company to invest into our country and people's collective future after the decades of disasters, oil spills, lies, and cover-ups that have devastated so many different communities and environments, not just in the US, but across the world. Their bill is due. They can choose to be a partner and investor into our future, or they can choose to be an adversary and keep on pretending they haven't done anything wrong, despite knowing for decades the impact that using fossil fuels would have on our planet. And that's only one level of assholeness. We need better billionaires. We need better elites. The wealthy elites in our country are mediocre. They have access to all the resources, and they don't do anything cool with them. Some of the more terminally online elites, like Bill Ackman and David Sachs, do a great job talking about how terrible our country is, but they're not doing anything serious to solve these issues, because to do that would mean spending their own money and not receiving a direct financial return on their investment. That seems to be the only thing that they and the other wealthy elite care about. These two, in addition to so many other billionaires and wealthy elites, constantly talk about how bad our country has gotten and how terrible cities like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and others are. Well, I want to use this study to find a better way for them to make direct investments that will improve these cities and allow them to be investors or co-founders, maybe even colloquially calling them founding fathers, of this new iteration of America. We need to figure out a way to create value out of preserving our natural resources and life on this planet. We need to figure out how to better preserve nature and make every undeveloped space that much more valuable in its preservation. We have been rapidly expanding as a country and species for the last 2 centuries, and now we need to start contracting. I'm not talking about depopulating the planet, but instead talking about choosing to not consume so much unnecessary junk that eventually ends up in a landfill. Choosing to live in a slightly smaller house that requires less resources and energy to maintain a comfortable living space. We're creating so much unnecessary waste because of unregulated capitalism. We're destroying so much land and nature in the process. We're destroying so much food on an annual basis that we could use to help solve hunger issues. We need more than carbon markets. We need to figure out how to create more value for things like restoring the Amazon's rainforest, since it's one of the largest carbon sinks on the planet. Find value in preserving and reviving coral reefs across the planet. The ocean is another massive carbon sink that we still know so little about, and yet we're constantly destroying. Our economy is in service of the elites. American aristocracy isn't dukes and lords and barons, but instead hedge fund managers and corporate executives. Don't get me wrong, we need their resources. We need their money to build all this energy and sustainable infrastructure. The American people are the best investment that they can make. They have the potential to be founders of a new chapter of American life and life across the whole planet. Yes, this is a populist message. For too long, I think most Americans have not felt a sense of ownership over our future, and that the American dream is dead. It's not dead, but it's on life support. We continue to allow for more wealth and power to be concentrated into smaller and smaller groups of people, and I think the vast majority of Americans are tired of seeing that. We are routinely told we need to work in service of the economy. That was a big issue during the early days of the pandemic, and we rise to the moment and do that. How do we benefit from our sacrifices? Were the families of the healthcare workers or grocery store workers or any essential worker who died because of contracting COVID compensated extra for their loss? Did the wealthy elites whose fortunes grew during the pandemic send money to the families of those essential workers who died while keeping our country running? Did they? Nature is always trying to balance itself. The planet is an ecosystem, and so is the economy. And these ecosystems are out of balance and trying to correct to a more balanced position. We are a part of the ecosystem, not masters of it like so many believe that we are. We are told time and time again that we need to die for the betterment of the economy, and no one is buying that bullshit anymore. The billionaires and elite do not meet us where we are. For some reason, they need to keep acquiring and hoarding more capital instead of investing in our country. They say they care about our country, but I think they only care about it in so much as how it caters and benefits them. When you own the politicians and power structures, I can understand how you would think you're above the rest of us, but I think we all see through their bullshit and see them for the mediocre people they are, or at least I hope we do. Look at the Walton siblings. All they've really done is maintain the company that was passed down to them. They haven't done anything big or bold with their wealth, only maintained a big box store company that undercuts local businesses and pays the store employees next to nothing. And I understand why people shop at Walmart and that many people really need to make their dollar stretch, and Walmart gives them more options. But it can turn into a doom loop of sorts the more we have to rely on places like Walmart and Dollar General stores. The executives and shareholders of these corporations, as well as those across all other sectors of our economy, only care about us as far as our capacity to work in the economy and prop up their own net worth. It's become too parasitic of a relationship instead of symbiotic. It's a core relation as well to humans in our relationship with the natural world. We just take, and do very little to actually protect. Those that want to make substantial change have significantly less capital and political power right now, but public attitudes are starting to shift. All our problems are interconnected with each other, and like so many other conflicts in human history, they come down to concentrated wealth and power. Having talked about my displeasure with the wealthy and elites, I now want to do a hard 90 and say, please invest into our future. You don't need to invest in my company, although it's certainly like that and will build great things with your resources if you do. I hope you invest in the American people. Please commit to helping build sustainable housing and renewable energy infrastructure across the whole country. Push different levels of government to make our communities better, and we will be better workers and contributors to your business success. Humans are purpose-driven creatures, and we will excitedly work to build a new way of living, and you will greatly benefit from being investors in this new America. Help us chart a bold new path and future with you as the co-founders of the next 250 years of the United States of America. We can name the high-speed rail corridor from Boston to New York the Bill Ackman corridor, or something like that. We can name new high-rises in the Bay Area that are multi-purpose buildings the All-In buildings, or Saxville, or something along those lines. Please invest in our people and environment and help us preserve what we still can while we still can. And please get your wealthy friends to join you, and we'll name stuff after them too. So I've talked a bit about Project 2030 and what I want it to be at a high level. What's next? Talking about it more on platforms like YouTube and Instagram and Twitter. I'm probably too old for TikTok, but I might venture into that realm as well. And engaging in potential partners and community members. I don't want this to be about me. I want this to be something that an overwhelming number of people get excited about. I want to create a path forward that the vast majority of people are excited about and feel a sense of ownership over, that they have some choices in their future. I want to hear from you. I want to talk with you. Tell me about what your plans are and the future that you want to see as well, and let's work together on building it. I know this is absurdly idealistic. I think I'm pretty aware of all of America's systemic issues and very complicated history. We need to better understand those things. We need to be a more engaged populace. We need to be a better educated populace and strive to offer great public education. Freedom isn't waking up and gallivanting about town in your car and not thinking about anyone else. Freedom is a daily exercise in understanding how governmental policies and business decisions have an impact on our lives. We can choose to ignore them and let things continue to happen we don't agree with, or we can come up with our own ideas. Some may be on the crazier side, like this one, and share them with others and hopefully build coalitions or collectives that want the same thing. We want things to be easy, and right now they definitely are not. It's our burden and our privilege to fix things. We finally have access to communicate ideas with every other human instantly across the world. We need to be less focused on centralizing and concentrating power, and more so on helping preserve everything that we still can. We can be the generation that finally chooses a different path for all of us to take. We need to make every billionaire and wealthy elite answer questions like, what will be enough for them? Why should we continue to listen to them and allow them to control resources the way they do and corrupt power in their favor? How are they better than us and deserving of so much excess that they haven't really earned? They can still be richer than all of us, but they don't get to be leeches and vampires on our planet and resources so they can feel superior, when by all accounts, they're mediocre. I envision an America where everyone is able to readily travel outside their hometown and state and get to see every other part of our country. It's amazing. I love this country. There's so many cool parts of our country, and every little corner has something interesting and helps define and showcase the beauty of America. It seems like today so many people are scared of red states or blue cities or red rural areas, and it's depressing how scared we have become of one another. Thomas Jefferson once said, I am not an advocate for frequent changes in laws and constitutions, but laws and institutions must go hand in hand with the progress of the human mind. As that becomes more developed, more enlightened, as new discoveries are made, new truths discovered, and manners and opinions changed. With the change of circumstances, institutions must advance also to keep pace with the times. We might as well require a man to wear still the coat which fitted him when a boy as civilized society to remain ever under the regiment of their barbarous ancestors. I envision an America where at any given point in time we have tens of thousands of people biking across our country on different green belts and pathways that go through all sorts of unique and charming small towns and big cities where people can stop and recharge their e-bike battery overnight, or stop somewhere for a meal or a snack and get a little extra juice to make it a few more miles to the next town before taking a break to sleep. I envision an America where none of our elected officials are over the age of 65 when sworn into office. An America where Ted Cruz only has a podcast and no real influence. An America that is thriving, a manufacturing and sustainability global leader. An America where everyone feels like they have a stronger sense of ownership over their own future. An America where people who have great ideas and work exceptionally hard can still be very wealthy, but they see and acknowledge all the public support they receive and reinvest in their communities to get back. I envision an America that actually solves these problems. An America that is healthier, every city and community is vibrant and rebuilt from the ground up, not top down. An America with a strong small business community that is replacing big box stores and chains. I am a naive optimist for this country. I believe we can have a future along the lines of what I envision, where everyone is thriving. But first, we need to stop being assholes to each other, and that definitely won't be easy. Thank you.